All right, everybody, we're live right here at South Lawn, and I got Mr. Gary Monroe, and we're talking about the Jack Yates alumni and what they, Gary, I know you're very active in being a Jack Yates graduate of 1986 and part of the Jack Yates state championship that made history with Coach Luther Booker.
Oh, yeah.
And well, let's kind of give us an idea about what's really going on with this $4.5 million stadium that they're talking about building over there at Jack Yates in honor of George Floyd.
Well, I don't really know all the details of it. I'm all for, I want to say this here, I'm all for honoring George. But when it comes to renaming that field, and I understand the tradition and the legacy of Jack Yates Senior High School, that doesn't sit well with me. Because I believe that Andrew Pat Patterson did great things on the football and the baseball field. I believe that Luther Booker did great things on the football and the swimming side of things, even when he was at Booker T. But at Yates, we can't fall for the politics that comes into renaming things and at the same time disrespect our legacy. So that doesn't sit well with me. I think that we needed to find another way to honor George. And if people are sincere and genuine in what they believe in, they'll still give you the grant money that you want, but don't use George's memory as a way to taint our legacy.
And you're talking about the legacy of Jack Yates football. It all started out with Mr. William Holland, who came over and came over from Gary, Indiana, that Mr. Ryan got to be over that program. Yeah. And then when Mr. Ryan was getting sick, Mr. Holland stepped in, and Mr. Holland went way to the Negro League to get Coach Andrew Pat Patterson to come to Houston. And then you're talking about Luther Booker that put Yates in the Hall of Fame, in Texas High School Hall of Fame, with the 1985 football team, which was the only team out of HISD to go undefeated and win a state championship.
Yep.
So Jack Yates, Luther Booker, they put Jack Yates in the history book of HISD history.
Well, I think we lose focus. We were at a function the other night where we were honored by the people from HISD to induct our team 85 into their new Hall of Honor. And our quarterback, who's been our leader for over 30 years, Charles Price, he said, this is not about 85. This is about 1926. That's how far back this needs to go. So if we understand where we come from, then we will understand that there's certain moves that we should not make when it comes to Jack Yates Senior High School. And when we're talking about politicizing Jack Yates Senior High School, putting us in the middle of politics, that doesn't work for me. And in this thing where you have people who disrespect the legacy of the football program, that's a problem for a lot of us that wore those uniforms. Not just me from the 80s. I got guys from the 50s and the 60s that have a problem with the way they feel that the program is being disrespected at this point. So, of course, I'm going to make some people mad with what I'm saying. George, love him to death. I fight for George every time I'm in Minnesota. I just came from a 2.5-month trip of working in the community in Minnesota for George. But to name a field after George and overlook Coach Patterson and Coach Booker and all the other great players that have worn their uniform, I feel that's disrespectful.
And and we talk about this, Brother Monroe, and me being a Jack Yates alumni of 1967, and the historian part of Jack Yates, is that not only did we disrespect Coach Pat Patterson, but Yates got it's a shame that all of this thing, and I'm speaking for the people who finished in the 50s and the 60s and part of the 70s. We felt like if you're going to honor Jack Yates and their legacy, first of all, the auditorium need to be named Mr. William Holland. That baseball field need to be named after Coach Pat Patterson.
Yes.
That tennis court need to be named after Doc Evans.
Yep.
And that football field need to be made in honor of Luther Booker.
But
these are the legacy of Jack Yates that you can pass on through the future of kids coming through Jack Yates.
But when you start looking at money, My father used to tell me, say, you'll never understand the character of a man until you put him in a room full of money. So when we start looking at the money and the things that come with it, then we start making moves where we disrespect Doc Evans, where we disrespect Coach Pat Patterson and Coach Luther Booker. I am a Yates line through and through. I stand on what I believe in. And what they're doing right now is totally disrespectful to the tradition of Jack Yates. I don't make moves some days unless somebody in the Fabulous 50s gives me the clearance. That's how much respect I have for them.
And that's Fabulous 50, that's 2610 Elgin, the original Jack Yates.
So I think we need to slow down a little bit on some of the things that we're doing, and we need to get back to what we believed in, which was standing up for ourselves at Yates and getting what we need. And if that field needs anything, that bond program, $2.89 billion worth of bond program, everything that they want was included in that program. So why don't you make the district pay and give up what they need to give up that we've already paid our tax money for? Don't sell out our tradition trying to act like you're doing something, because everybody ain't working in the best interest of Yates. Yeah, I said it. And I'm gonna say this here. I love the Yates that I went to, but I don't like the one that I visit.
And you know, and we go to say this too, Monroe, and we both feel the same way. And we were raised up that all money ain't good money.
Exactly. It definitely is not. So I tell you what, man, I know you gotta go to church, give God his time, and I'm finna get out here and get these people mine, but I stand where I stand. That field should not be named after George. Find another way to honor him. But that football field should be after Coach Booker. Like you said, that tennis court after Doc Evans, and that baseball field after Coach Patterson, and that's what I believe.
Thank you.